Hi, friends, and Happy New Year. This episode today is going to be a bit different than what you are familiar with. It's been a minute since I've been on here, and I'm excited to be back with you in this format. It's been on my heart that I need to get back on this platform because I love connecting with all of you here in this space. And God just keeps laying on my heart that all I have to deliver is my voice. So I am here today bringing my voice to you through your AirPods, your radio speakers, or however you choose to listen to this podcast. Let's jump right in. Welcome back to the Power Project. I have so many things I want to share with you today. I realize that it's been quite some time since I have regularly been on this platform with you. Can you believe that I quit podcasting weekly in September of 2020? You guys, are you kidding me? How has over 4 years flown by? If you're like me, you're scratching your head and you're trying to decide what just happened in the last 4 years. Some of you have done incredible, amazing things, and some of you may still feel a tad bit stuck. So for those of you who have just found this podcast and you haven't been with us from the get-go, we launched in 2018. We did an episode every week. We launched 100 episodes, and then the entire world caught on fire in 2020, and it just got really loud and really noisy, and I decided that I didn't want to hear anyone speak, more or less myself. So I thought I would take a break. That break turned into close to a 2-year hiatus, and we came back with a podcast producer and editor, and we were ready to hit the ground running. We did a few episodes and lost the editor and the producers. So since then, I've been sitting saying that I'm getting ready to relaunch the podcast. I'm just looking for a producer or an editor. And if I can be completely honest, I think I've just been making excuses. The past 4 years have been really uncharacteristic for me. They've been full of confusion and distractions and self-doubt. And it seems like I've always been a person who clearly knows what I'm doing next, the steps that I'm taking, the action that I'm taking, the plan that I have. And it's just been this whirlwind or this vortex of spinning distractions, confusion, ideas in the past 4 years. I've done a few things since I quit podcasting. And I realized that when I jumped back in, for those of you that follow on the podcast that may not be following me on social media or may not know me in real life, have never heard me speak, I left this gap of what was going on in my life. So when I quit doing weekly podcast in September of 2020, I launched the Power Hack Company in October of 2020. And that's been a wild ride, you guys. It's been very all-consuming, and it was an endeavor that I launched to create economic empowerment or job opportunities for people in need, and it has consumed my entire life. If I'm honest, it's pulled me away from the things that I really, truly feel so passionate and so called to in life. So I'm trying to find a balance of continuing to grow that dream, continuing to push forward with that dream, and also doing what it is that I know God's put me on this earth to do. Like using my voice, inspiring, motivating, uplifting, sharing His glory with those who need to hear it, and connecting with people in this platform and online and on stages and in events. And so that's what we're doing today. We're coming on, and I'm finding the sweet spot to where that we can merge those two things. But when I picked back up in 2022, we were getting back to our weekly episodes, and we're promoting social entrepreneurship or social enterprise or business for good or business as mission, whatever you want to call it. So when I picked back up in 2022, I never actually told you guys what I had been doing in the last 2 years and what that had looked like. I finished writing my first book in December of 2019. And it led up to the birth of a social enterprise. That was the last chapter. It was the ideation phase of the Power Hat Company. And I had full intention to write a second book called The Birth of a Social Enterprise and really tell you guys this whole story about the creation of the hat company. Now, I'm a 3 on the Enneagram. And for those of you who've been with me before, you know that I am a firm believer in the Enneagram. I really like achieving. I like checking goals off of a list. I like performing. I like to know that I have succeeded. So for me to tell you the story of a hat company that is 4 years in, that isn't where I would like it to be, feels like it goes against everything in my DNA, truly everything in my DNA. But I have been encouraged by a friend who says that we learn better from each other's journeys and the obstacles and the trials along the way versus the 1, 2, 3 steps to success. And so I feel in my soul that I need to share this journey with you all. And I have a lot of friends that are doing business for good and business as mission around the world. I have this incredible organization that I work with that there are 150 members across the globe that are creating economic empowerment for individuals that have experienced trafficking and exploitation or are at risk. And the conversations that I'm having with so many of my friends that are in these trenches are very, very difficult. They are experiencing so many obstacles, so many trials. It seems like we're alone, even though we know we're not. We know that those are lies from the enemy. And it feels like for every step we take forward, there are 2 steps backward. And I personally can tell you, it would be very easy for me to throw in the towel right now, to say I tried and I gave it 4 solid years of working and putting everything else on the back burner, and it didn't get to where I needed it to be. And I'm tired and I'm burnt out and I'm lacking resources and I'm lacking finances and I'm lacking people. It would be really easy for me to just throw my hat in, hang my hat up. But there's only one problem. God just has not released me from this call. I know the necessity for economic empowerment and for job creation across the globe for individuals that have criminal backgrounds, gaps in their resume. They lack marketable business skills. I know what we need to create. I know what I have in my mind that I want to see brought to vision. And I just can't let go of that thing that I'm called to. I can't let go of the faces that I've seen that have been put in front of me, the individuals that I've met, the people that I have coached, the people that I've mentored, the people that have worked with me, that have worked for me, the people that get excited when I tell them about the idea and the concept of the Power Hat Company. So if you are one of my friends that is doing business for good, I want to come to the table today and I want to say this is a safe place. This is a place where we can hold both tensions. We can admit that this is really hard and also really fulfilling all at the same time. We can say that God has called us to this and it does not make it easy. You see, oftentimes when I've had other social entrepreneurs on here, we have spent time before the interview basically commiserating and discussing the challenges that we face. And I just want to be completely open, honest, and transparent with you today and discuss some of those challenges. And this is Human Trafficking Awareness Month. We are focused on promoting our mission. We are focused on creating jobs for individuals in need in the United States and across the world with one simple product, which is a hat. We are going to continue encouraging people to buy hats, not girls. And yes, we know that boys are trafficked and men are trafficked, but our tagline's buy hats, not girls. So we're going to stick with that one. We're going to continue sharing our story and our mission. We're going to continue moving forward and we're going to continue fundraising and asking for help, which if I'm completely honest, this is like the hardest thing I've ever had to do is to say, hey, I need some help growing this company because we have huge goals for the next 4 years. We don't just want to make hats. We want to create more jobs than you can possibly imagine. We want to have our hands in the entire production process. We want to partner with global partners to create jobs around the world that surround the hat industry. We also want to disrupt the supply chain in the hat industry. We want to change the way that this business is done. We want to provide ethical sourcing and transparent supply chains to ensure that the 80 hands that are touching a felt hat before it leaves the factory all receive a fair living wage. And we want to provide this healing centered environment where people feel safe, where they're able to not only come in at entry level positions and earn gap income, but promote within the company and build out their vocational plan while gaining necessary job skills and mentorship in a safe environment. So I thought that I would take this time this month to share with you guys some of the highs and the lows of this process, this journey, this crazy ride that we've been on for the past 4 years. In 2018, I believe, I had this idea that somewhere along the way, I might possibly create a hat line or a hat company because I really like hats. I've always worn hats since I was very young. And it was just kind of tabled. It was something that I thought I would get to down the road. And then in 2019, I was teaching a business planning course at an aftercare home. And one of my mentees sat across the table from me, and she was brilliant. You guys, like, so smart, 19 years old, very entrepreneurial, very motivated, very ambitious. And while we were walking through her 10-year plan, I asked her what challenges she saw on her journey that she could prepare for, what obstacles were there, what might get in the way of what her goals were. And she looked me point blank in the eye across the table and said, "I'm 19. I ain't ever had a legal job a day in my life." She said, "I've sold drugs, I've worked in clubs, and I'm in a program right now. Are you going to hire me as a business owner?" And it was just a gut punch for me. I sat there and I looked across the table and I thought, she's right. I would hire her. However, that story on paper, she doesn't get a second chance. She doesn't get a callback. She doesn't get an interview. And what can we do to attach her to purpose? What can we do to create an environment where she can have dignified work and a fair living wage and create a career while she builds out her dream vocation? I came home that day to my husband and I said, I have an idea. We're going to start a hat company and we're going to employ the girls that I mentor. And he just looked at me with that knowing look that he has when I come home with ideas. He knows better than to say no or shut it down. But he said, "Hey, not right now. We're working on a few other things. So let's just table this for a bit." So we did. We tabled it. And then I just couldn't let this idea go. I couldn't quit thinking about it. I couldn't quit dreaming about it. I saw the hats in my head. I saw the ways that the people would be involved that I was mentoring. And I kept thinking, man, if I could create a living and working environment where we have a hat factory and we have an order fulfillment center and we have apartments or tiny homes or something to that effect, we could eliminate the need for a driver's license. We could eliminate the need for transportation. We could eliminate the cost of owning a vehicle. And we could just create a living, working environment where it was fully holistic, healing centered, and we could create this utopian vision of work-life balance. That was what kept me up at night. And so we decided we would move forward with this company around the end of 2019, and we were set to launch in March of 2020. I don't know if you remember what happened then, but it was fun. In the ideation phase, I began researching and leaning into what it looks like to start a hat company because I knew nothing about making hats. I knew that I liked hats. I knew which hats I thought were cute. I knew a nice quality hat versus a crummy, cheap hat. And I know manufacturing in the aerospace industry, but I don't know anything about it in the hat industry. And I don't know retail and I don't know wholesale, but I do have this crazy idea that we can pray about it, Google it, and figure it out. And so I just started researching and I kept thinking, if I could find a hat maker to partner with, this would be the best way to do this. Find someone who knows what they're doing, attach our mission and our purpose, partner up, grow the brand. And so I started sending DMs on Instagram because that is what I do. That's how I network. I just have no problem jumping into a stranger's inbox. I found this one hat maker and I thought, hey, she is faith-based. She is scripture inspired. She is covering all the hats that she makes in his grace and his goodness and really pointing people to their identity in Christ. So she's the perfect fit. Also, she was not very far from where I live. So this seemed like a perfect partnership. So I reached out, sent her a DM. I said, hey, this is what I'm doing. This is what I want to do. This is demographic that I'm serving. Can we chat? Can we hop on a call? Can we do lunch? I would love to talk to you about this. And she immediately came back and basically said, I don't think this is a great idea. I think you should look into a different industry. I don't think that this is the one that you want to tackle to create jobs for the people that you're trying to help. And I commend your efforts, but this is not the job that you want to take on. And in my ignorant bliss, hair on fire, run through brick walls, positivity, I said, great. I don't want the girls that I'm employing to make the hats. I want them to be part of the process. I want them to help with back end, with marketing, with order fulfillment, with different ways that they can build out their job skills. I just need to find a hat maker that knows what they're doing to get us started. And once again, she came back and she said, do you have any idea what goes into the hat making process? And at this point, I'm like, what are we doing here? I think I opened the message up with, I have no idea how to make hats. And so I responded with no. And that is exactly why I reached out to you. I would like to partner with a hat maker to be able to create this business, to build this business out and provide jobs to the people that I'm trying to provide jobs to. And she came back basically telling me that she was not the girl for me. This was a very hard industry, that the larger foreign companies make it really difficult on small hat makers. And she wished me luck and go on my merry way. And she wanted nothing to do with me. And I thought that was very abrupt. And that doesn't align with the message or the mission that I'm seeing from your brand online. But how nice, bless your heart. Let's move on. So that was my first, the very first wall that I went up against. And not to be deterred, I just kept thinking, how do we figure out how to make these hats? And so my husband was like, hey, you don't have to know the whole process. You want to make hats. You want to provide jobs. You want a hat brand. You can outsource production. You can find a factory to make these hats for you. You just need to design them and move forward. So I began calling around. I began finding whatever hat factory I could find that I could call that would take my phone call. Several would not connect me to anyone in the factory that could make any decisions. Some would take my name and tell me that they would provide me with a callback, which I never received. I did get through to one factory that was a very large factory that a large majority of name brand cowboy hats are made in. Told the guy, the production manager, my spill, my pitch, which I can't even imagine. I know it was not perfected very well back then, but my ideation pitch of what I was trying to do. And he came back letting me know exactly how many millions of units of hats his customers order each year, the orders that he had to fulfill, the event that was about to take place that everyone was prepping for, basically mansplained everything to me and kind of told me that he didn't have enough time to help this little lady out. So I wished him well, told him, good day, sir. Thank you, and moved forward. And so I kept having doors slammed in my face looking for this. And then I finally found a factory that I spoke with a woman there that she was very eager to learn about our mission. She was very interested in making hats for us. And I got an appointment with them. I was able to schedule an appointment to go speak with them. And I kept thinking imposter syndrome was creeping in and I have no idea what I'm doing. Why am I jumping into this? I know nothing. I know nothing. They're going to ask me questions I'm not going to be able to answer and I'm going to look stupid. That was my thought going into it. And my husband sat down with me and he said, hey, they need your orders. They're in the business of making hats. You are a customer that wants hats made. They need you, which really did help. It did help shift my perspective, right? Because when we start having that imposter syndrome creep in, the number one way to combat it is to shift our perspective about what it is that we're believing and what lies we're listening to. So I went into it prepping myself saying, they need me. They need my orders. They need my 360 order opening order that they so graciously let me place. And just for you guys that don't know, like most minimum order quantities are like 200 plus of one color, one style. And so many hat companies order like 2 million units a year. So I was not just a small fish in a big sea. I was literally microscopic, like the amoeba in the sea. That's what I was. And so this designer and this production manager were gracious enough to say, we'll make hats for you. And we like your mission and we want to help you out. And you can come through the factory. You can talk to the people that work with us. You can see what they're paid. You can see that they're happy and have safe working environments. And I landed it. I landed my production being outsourced. And it felt like a freaking home run. So I had the samples made. And the samples, they took like 8 weeks, which at this point, post-COVID, samples taking 8 weeks is pretty quick because we do not run on a very fast scale anymore. And when they called and said my samples were ready and I could come pick them up, you guys, like when I tell you that I held this hat in my hand and I sat in my car and I took pictures of the lining on the inside that says hats with a powerful purpose, like the sweatband. And I took pictures of my logo, the Power Hat Company, at the bottom of that hat. And I just held that hat upside down. And it was full of, I get emotional when I talk about this. It was full of all these possibilities. Like that hat represented all the jobs. That hat represented all of the jobs and the opportunities that I was trying to create. It represented all the faces of the individuals that sat across the table from me, feeling worthless and not knowing their gifts or their strengths in life. It represented individuals who didn't have the job before they decided to go back to a life of drugs and abuse. It represented the individuals that we had lost to overdose or suicide. It represented hope. It represented infinite possibility. It represented empowerment. And that hat felt like I was holding my baby the day that they laid him in my arms at the hospital. And I know that it sounds stupid or ridiculous or whatever phrase you want to label it as. I know that it's a hat, right? Like it's just a hat, but it's more than a hat. It's a hat with a powerful purpose. There have been innumerable obstacles on this journey. And the reason that I am doing this podcast today is to remind myself why I started and to remind myself why I'm still going and to remind myself why I continue to stand up every single time that we get knocked flat on our butts. So I have let this business and this calling be all consuming for the past few years. And I have let it really just burden me. I've tried to carry the burden by myself. I know that I can't. I have stifled the business because I've tried to do everything on my own because I've had this mindset that there's not enough money and there's not enough people and I can't do it on my own. That's where I've shifted into thinking for the past couple of years. And that's not me. That's not how I'm hardwired, because I think that work and business can be viewed as an institution, a grind, like a box that kind of contains us. But truly, honestly, I believe it was created for us. And I believe that dream that we are all chasing, that calling that God's put in our life, that purpose that he has sprinkled in our DNA, it's for us. It's created for us. It's created for us to use our gifts and our strengths to bring glory to him. And I just have to keep moving forward one step at a time, moving my feet and serving where I am, just the same as you. And so I want to come on here and I want to share the highs and the lows, and I want to share the victories and the obstacles, and I want us all to come together in this place and remember the first obstacle we overcame in business. So that first obstacle I had to overcome was finding someone to make some hats for me. And then also, I want you to realize that you overcame that first obstacle in business, but also that success, that victory, that feeling that you felt when you were one step closer to your goal. There have been countless doors closed in my face since that day that I held that hat in my hands in February of 2020. I held that hat in my hands. And I felt like I was on top of the world, and I felt like we were go knock down every brick wall that was placed in our path. But you know what? I'm not worried about the doors that were closed in my face after that, because that door was open at that moment. And so today, I just want to encourage you to go back, think back to the beginning of your business, to your first victory, to your first moment that you held your baby in your hands and you were full of hope and you were full of promise and you were full of possibility. And you just knew that this is what you were called to do. And you just knew that this was going to change people's lives. And you knew that you were going to be able to fulfill the call that was put on your heart. Go back to that and hold on to that. Because what is being done through you, through this process, the refining, is more important than what you're actually doing with your business. And what is infiltrating through you and out into the community around you, the encouragement, the inspiration, the motivation, the hope, that is more important than what your bottom line is right now, than what your profit loss looks like. Yeah, there's a ton of business analysts that would tell you that what I just said is ridiculous. And they're probably right. And that's probably why mine doesn't look a little bit better than it does right now. But I've prayed for months over this business and over what happens next, and scaling and moving into the wholesale space and moving into nationwide retailers. And you guys, this process takes so much money. And I am needing to step away from some mindsets that are holding me back in that. What I've chosen to leave behind in 2024 is self-doubt, distractions or confusion, and fear. And those things, I believe, have really, really limited the capacity of what I could be doing with this business right now, or actually what God could be doing with this business right now, because it's his business, it's his dream, it's his goal. And so I've been praying and meditating and just saying, God, like, what do you want me to do? How do I do it? I need finances. I need resources. I need people. And I was awake in the middle of the night at like 3:20 mark, where he likes to wake me up. And I just felt like he was telling me that the money is infinite because it's his, and that the resources are infinite because they're his, and that the power is infinite because it's his, and that the possibilities are infinite because they're his, and that I have to quit focusing on the finite. I have to fix my eyes on his infinite power at work within me. And so that's why we're here today. That's why we're going to be here all month long while I come on and we talk and we share this journey. And I would love your feedback. I want to hear your feedback on your business journey. Also, if you are struggling and if you're needing encouragement and you're needing motivation and you're needing help getting to that next step, I don't have the answers for you. What I do have is a network of valued mentors that have spoken into me, that have poured into me, and that I am leaning on heavily at this season of my life. And we're going to be launching a mastermind kicking off mid-February. And I would love to have you be a part of that. I would love to have you join us for a 12-month mastermind where we're able to level up our businesses, where we're able to focus on his infinite power at work in these businesses. I want to create businesses of impact alongside of you. I want to create economic empowerment for those in need. And I want to create change by using business as a tool for good with you guys. You can check that out. Go to the-powerproject.com/mastermind. I know that this episode today was a bit different than what you are familiar with. And if I'm being honest, it was really scary for me to come on and be completely authentic and vulnerable and raw with you on this platform, because that is not what I've ever done before. We have talked about a lot of things here, but I don't know that I've ever come on here and cried to you about my business. If you were inspired by this episode, would you do me a favor? Would you just give us a rating and a review? It really does matter in the world of podcasting when you give us some feedback on that. Share this episode with a friend of yours that is needing some encouragement in business, and then come back again next week where we're going to discuss more obstacles and more victories that have happened along the way. Friends, I hope that you enjoyed this episode today. I know that it fuels my heart to be able to bring these episodes to you. If you did indeed like this show today, can you do me a favor? Click subscribe down below. Give us a like, share with your friends, write a review, tell everyone about the Power Project podcast so that we can continue creating content for you. I can't wait to chat with you again, but until then, go out and live your best purpose-filled lives.